Cool. So welcome everybody to the last AMA of the year. We're having a short one. So basically we're gonna do like a quick recap of what did we do this year and go into some of the plans and maybe answer some of your questions, which there is two very pressuring ones. But if I read any other ones, I will just like to answer them. Yeah, like if anybody wants to come on stage, you're more than welcome. Just raise your hand and we bring you up here. Cool. Simon, how are you? And who are you for those that don't know you?
Hey, I'm good. I'm one of the co-founders and the CEO of Reya Labs. For anyone who doesn't know me, do you want more than that? I'll keep it short and sweet.
Let's keep it short and sweet because we only have 30 minutes. I mean, less than that now. So let's just, take us through a quick recap. What happened the last 6 months? A lot.
Cool. What happened in the last 6 months? What happened in the last 12 months? I mean, we started the year with a big ambitious vision of a new type of network that is capable of supporting frankly, long term, the entire global financial system. And our contrarian belief is that we don't believe that will be housed on a network that is generalizable, and instead we believe it will be housed on a network which is bespoke and specifically optimized for finance. We can obviously get into what that phasing looks like because, like, just the honest truth is, building a network that is capable of supporting the whole financial system, like, we just don't know how to do that right now. Like, no one does. It's just impossible to know that. Instead, you attack it in phases, and the same as SpaceX trying to send people to Mars, right? Like, you don't just send people to Mars on the first go. You kind of attack it in phases. And this year for us, I'll get onto that phasing, but this year for us has really been about launching the DEX on Reya Network, using that as an opportunity to obviously drive trading volume, drive activity, but also generate learnings that enable us to move into the next phase, which is what 2025 is going to be about, which is around optimizing the network itself specifically for trading. So it's going to be a big year, I guess, in terms of the network development through 2025. But this year has really been about building the DEX and using that as an opportunity, like I said, to bootstrap activity, bootstrap users, but also generate the learnings that enable us to build a network that's going to be like no other network anyone's ever seen before.
There you go. Somebody was asking for alpha. I'll box checked. Cool. So maybe if we look, fast forward, we end of the year. It's been over a month since our last call. So we go through what happened this last month. Last time we all spoke, we talked about what we called the squid, and there was a community vote, and that passed. And then some of actions now, like already been engaged, and maybe it's time to share a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I mean, just again, wrap it in the context of this year. So this year, just to repeat, has been about getting the DEX going to generate the learnings to build a new type of network, which is going to happen through next year. And as part of like getting the DEX going, obviously the DEX at the moment operates via a pool-based model. And one of the things which we were kind of extremely keen to do and have done in a way that I think is demonstrably different now is kind of build that DEX and build that pool-based model in a way that both is like demonstrably better, i.e. higher APYs, and I think people could start to see that, but also enables us to connect together multiple different parts of the crypto ecosystem with the ultimate ambition of accelerating the growth of Reya Network and bringing a lot of trading flow on chain. And the Squid piece has done that. It's very much a proof of concept at this stage. Obviously, the community has voted for this to go through. There's 2 million at the moment, which is managed by Selene, and there's 2 million, which is managed by Amber. And they run different trading strategies, but you can think about the infrastructure that exists there as kind of akin to Athena in many ways, albeit the people who are managing the money are the trading firms, not like just like in that instance it would be Reya Labs. Like we're not managing the money; it's the trading firms that are managing it. And the significance of that, I think, is twofold. Number one, obviously, there's diversification in terms of trading strategies. And people can see this now. Like when the yield on the basis trade has dropped quite substantially over the past week, you can actually look at the yield on Reya. It's much higher because there is diversification in terms of the sources of yield. So that's one thing. But then actually equally importantly is because these trading firms are the ones who are managing this capital and doing the trading strategy between the sexes and between Reya Network, that actually provides a path to accelerating the volume and the adoption of Reya Network kind of over the medium term, which again just puts us in a really strong position to accelerate growth like through next year.
There we go. And there was talk or like Twitter Spaces with Selene and Jordi and yourself, hosted by the Rollup guys. And I'm going to share some snippets here for whoever missed that one. You can hear more about Selene's strategies and what is that they're trying to achieve, the yield that they're aiming to bring back, which in short, you will see it. Talking about yield, do you want to say something about yield and what's in the UI today?
Yeah, so it's been a long requested feature, and we've obviously wanted to do this for a while, but the yield is now available. The 7-day average yield is available on the UI. So I think if you go and look right now, hold on, I'm going to check it just as we're talking. But if you go and look, it was 18% this morning, which if you compare that to Athena, I think Athena's doing 12%. And this just reiterates my point. The advantage of the squid model is that there's diversification in terms of yield. And as the basis trade softens, right, you are able to continue to get good yield because there are other strategies that are contributing to that yield. So that's obviously this kind of one of the huge advantages of what we built. As the basis trade goes up, obviously, like Elixir is very heavily plugged into Reya, and we do a lot of work with them as a team. They're obviously a great team to be partnered with. But as the basis trade goes up, obviously, people who are staking into Reya Network, a large proportion of the capital goes into SD/USD, and that means that people also get exposure to that as it goes up. It's just that as it comes down, actually, there's other sources of yield which keep the yield high. The big one is there on the app, right?
Yeah. That's a huge one. Everybody's been requesting it. Now you have it. Maybe just worth mentioning that Reya stakers, currently you're getting this sweet 18% 7-day average yield. You're also getting Reya XP and you're getting Elixir potions. So, and you can check that on their UI currently. We might bring that in your UI as well. There's a piece of work there. So yeah, 3 things in one go. So network stakers must be very happy at the moment. But let's talk about trading. Reya DEX, it's also been through a lot of little changes recently. Do you want to go and touch a little bit on that?
Yeah, so the kind of as I was saying at the start, this year has been really about launching the DEX and getting that up to like a really good standard so that it can start scaling in terms of volume significantly through next year. This month is actually a really good month already in terms of volume. It's already the best ever performing month from a volume perspective, which is obviously great to see. And hopefully people have seen and kind of realized this, that through the course of this year, there's been lots of new features that have been added to the DEX. There's also been a lot more markets. There's now 35 perp markets. We also added spot markets via Camelot, albeit there's only 2 markets on that at the moment. That's obviously going to start to change through next year. So building the DEX is just a process of continuous improvement, and that's going to keep going on. But yeah, certainly spending more time on trading volume and continuing to grow kind of the volume and improve the feature set for traders is something which is going to continue to be a really important part of the strategy going forward. So
Yeah,
hopefully
and
people. And then the other thing I'd say is through the course of this week, there's obviously been last week, there's been a lot of work that's gone into improving the actual performance of the app itself. So I know that some people kind of having a couple of issues through the course of last week, which was driven off the fact that we were driving these performance improvements. But over the next few weeks, I think people are going to really start to see that the app itself is also going to get a lot faster and kind of on par with the type of experience that you get on a SEX.
yeah, and there's 2 big things in the pipeline regarding the DEX. You will see like in the coming weeks, but that's in this side of the year. Maybe let's quickly touch on what's the vision for 2025, which literally is what, next week, pretty much.
Yeah. But so again, I think it's helpful just to frame it from the vision for the future and work backwards. So if you just project out over the next 5 to 10 years, and I think everybody in this space agrees with this, the entire global financial system is going to move on chain. And you can go into all the reasons for that. There's many, but it's like if we just rather than me repeating stuff that everybody already knows, like it's demonstrably better and it will happen over that time horizon. What we're doing at Rare that's completely different is we don't believe the entire global financial system will live on a generalizable network. Instead, we believe it will live on a network that's bespoke and specifically optimized for finance. And that's the vision that we're building into with Rare. We want to build a network that is optimized for finance and is capable of supporting the entire global financial system. But if you work back from that, we obviously don't know how to do that right now. And like I said at the start, no one knows how to do that because it's too big of a problem. So what we've done deliberately is we've shrunk the problem space and we said, okay, we're not going to do the whole of finance like to begin with. We're actually instead just going to focus specifically on trading. And in order to generate the learnings that enable us to figure out how we build a trading optimized network, we're going to launch a DEX on the network first. And that's obviously what we've been doing through this year. We launched a DEX. We've kind of grown trading volume. It's kind of starting to get to the place where there's a really, really good trading experience for traders. Obviously, that's going to keep improving through next year. But what 2025 then really starts to look like is we're actually going to start really specifically optimizing the network itself to become a trading optimized network that is going to provide like immense value ultimately through to traders that exists on the network. And that's going to be like nothing anyone's seen before. I'm pretty confident of that. But through the course of next year, that's obviously from a product perspective, that's going to be a big part of the roadmap. Obviously, the question which then also comes up with that, which is I may as well just address now since it's the most asked question is TGE. And that again is also going to happen through next year with the ambition that it happens towards the very early part of the year. But that is, of course, is obviously dependent on a few factors. So we kind of communicated this a few times. And it's going to be tied to the rollout of the trading optimized networks. Those two pieces, obviously pieces which we're working on at the moment, and are going to be pieces which start to get rolled out through the course of next year.
Yeah, that's one of the most asked questions. I'm going to wait to see if there are any reactions, in case people didn't fully hear it. But yeah, just to repeat it, when do you think TG, or what's the aim that the team has?
It's early next year, so it's there's obviously a few variables that go into that, but that's what we're targeting.
Anything you want to share on what we're thinking, tokenomics design, and maybe some dates around that?
Yeah, so we've been doing a lot of work on this, and I wrote this in one of the I think it was in the alpha channel. So anybody who's the top level from a network staking perspective would have seen this the other day. We've done loads of work on tokenomics design. One thing that I'm keen to avoid is just putting a specific date on exactly when we're going to release the tokenomics design, because I don't want us just to get to a date and it not be ready or whatever that might be. So we are very, very close at this point. What we're like, we could release the tokenomics design tomorrow if we just replicated the low float, high FDV kind of bullshit that's taken place through the course of this year. But as hopefully you can tell by the fact that I think that's bullshit, we obviously haven't got any desire to do that. So instead, what really matters to us is actually building a tokenomics design that acts as a flywheel for growth and puts control in the hands of the users of the network. So that's one of the, I mean, and fundamentally, that's the way that crypto should be. That's frankly why we're all here. So doing that well is obviously extremely important, and making sure we release information when we are ready to release that information rather than just releasing information because we put a date on the point in time that information was going to go out. That's obviously the most important thing. But all I will say is that there's been a huge amount of work going on in the background, and certainly at this point in time, we're getting very, very close to something which is ready to share.
Yeah, we'll share it in due course, and we take it serious. We're reading everything you guys saying, and I think we're on the same page. So that's as far as I will go. No, I think we're on the same page here.
As in you and me, or like just
No, like
everybody?
I'm reading. Yeah, to say everybody who's like concerned about thinking community first. Yes, we only thinking community first. So all on the same page.
All on the same page, exactly.
There you go. Cool. So we addressed. I'm just waiting to see if there's like some follow-up questions. But we can address two of the main questions that we get, not asked today, but literally I'll wake up, check Discord, go through 10 when questions. So early next year for the big one, the other one as soon as we're ready, but we're on the same page.
Exactly.
Cool.
And as
Right,
a community, what we have the opportunity to do as a community is to grow Reya Network. So everybody that is here is a user of the network, which is or a user or a contributor of the network. Like what we also have opportunity to do through next year is just grow the network as a whole. And obviously for everybody that the community owns the network, that's the ambition. So by growing the network, that is obviously ultimately good for everybody that's using it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna do like a quick. I'm just reading the chat. So, a question about the G roll. So, if you connected your wallet to Reya leaderboard and you got the roles, they basically equal sections of the seasons we've been through. So everybody who got the G roll means that they've been very, very early to Reya. So I would be very happy if I have that role. Let's put it that way. When season ends, you will see it as well, and we'll talk about it at due course. 5% community location, community-owned network. Nobody said 5% community location. Again, we all on the same page because we all on the same page. Nothing else to add. It's that's not what we refer to community-owned network. What your next big plans, sir? We just went through this, but maybe Simon, do you want to? I think it's one of the most interesting things. We already answered one token. We already answered tokenomics. Really, what we're trying to do here is build for the future. 2025 around the corner. What are your next big plans? I imagine either you joined late or you were too worried about tokenomics. So, Simon, can we go through again what we're trying to do next year?
Sorry, there's someone that's decentralized Duke. I'm just going to give you a shout out. There you
Out, man.
go.
Boom.
So, well, I don't want to repeat everything that I just said, but we're trying to build a new type of network that has never been seen before, that is bespoke and specifically optimized for ultimately supporting the entire global financial system. That's too big a problem to do in one go. So what we have been deliberately doing is keeping that focused on trading to begin with. And through next year, what people are about to start seeing is a roadmap and a kind of product progress on optimizing the network further to better serve the needs of traders. Right. So the way that the network works at the moment is it is the Arbitrum Orbit tech stack, which has been customized to make it more performant. And on top of that, we have smart contract logic that supports all of the derivatives clearing and therefore enables trading. And it also supports all of the liquidity components. What will start to happen through next year is a lot of that financial logic will start to become embedded into the actual network design itself, with the ultimate purpose of better serving the needs of traders. Right. So through next year, and then there's obviously this value gets passed up through the DEX to end users. But through the year, this purpose-built trading optimized network is obviously the core part of the roadmap, and it's going to both create a network like no one's ever seen before, but also provide value through to end users in a way that is demonstrably different and again has not been seen before. So that's the roadmap for next year.
There we go.
Alongside questions that are obvious, which is TGE, etc.
And the NFT collection you mentioned before. Purpose built. Do you have like a specific example for those that maybe see this as too generic? It's redundant, right? Like it's trying to not be generic, but if we say purpose built, what do we refer by purpose built?
So I think just take any form of generalizable network. So Ethereum, let's just choose Ethereum as an example. That is designed in order to support all sorts of different applications from gaming through to finance. And the way in which the kind of block building process works is that it, by definition, has to be generalizable and agnostic to what the actual primitives are that are built on top of the network. And just by trying to be generalizable, it creates limitations. And like some really good examples of that are in terms of how you start to execute transactions is one good example. So if you know that all of the transactions that are coming through are orders, just as an example, you can actually start to do things that are different in terms of the way in which you process them, versus if you're trying to be generalizable and you have kind of trading orders coming through, but then at the same time you have like gaming transactions coming through, right? You just have this kind of mix of stuff which you have to treat in a very different way, versus if you have a purpose-built network for trading, and therefore you know all of the transactions that are coming through it, are trading transactions, and you can start to do different things in terms of the way that you execute those transactions. There's just one example of many that can then start to propagate into performance improvements. It can start to propagate into the way in which you bring in kind of pricing information into the network, and can propagate through to the way in which liquidity is able to interact across the network as a whole. As soon as you actually shrink the problem space from going generalizable to purpose built, the counterintuitive thing is that by shrinking the problem space, you actually massively expand the ideation and innovation that you can actually create on the network. And that's what the roadmap looks like through the course of 2025.
There you go. Yeah, to even be more specific, you as a user have better pricing, fast execution, etc., etc. Even more than now. Cool. So we've got 3 minutes. It's been a crazy year, and we're not doing this alone. So obviously, we read almost every message that you guys send everywhere. We try to answer as much as we can. We do appreciate all the feedback that you guys always send. We build a lot of stuff based on that. So keep sending feedback. And I also want to like have a quick shout out to those that are helping us like very closely, like all like demigods that we have. I think some in the house, like Maho and Burbak, who always are the first ones defending any tickets, any errors. Like they're always around the clock, just helping everybody in the community. So big shout out to them. We love the work that they're doing, and also the Hermes role. Like few people learning that role today. We have Funjosa. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right, man, but thank you very much for spreading the word. Momota, Faveda, Retsu, Andy, Retro Kid, XDivman, Kurol, Alex Fox. Thank you, all of you guys, for sharing what we're trying to build here. And if anybody's interested in that role, it's something that we just award to the community that like spreading the word, writing articles on Twitter, etc. By the way, if you do have Twitter or friends that trade, you can use the referral. You currently earn like 10% of the referee fees and XP. If you think you're huge, you can also apply for affiliate, and we can review that, and you then will be promoted to 15%. 15. Quick recap. Last words.
Last words, just it's been a fun year, but obviously next year is a really big year, just both from a product and from a decentralization perspective. So I'm excited.
We're all excited. Cool. Well, Thank you very much for joining. We'll have another one early next year. So hopefully, if you guys are celebrating, have great holidays, Happy New Year, and see you very, very soon.